Hello and welcome to RhinoCAM MILL 2016. In this video, we discuss and demonstrate the new Xpress configuration while programming 2.5-axis, 3-axis, and whole machining operations on a 3D part model. RhinoCAM MILL Xpress is ideal for makers, hobbyists, and students looking to get familiar with CAM for the first time. If you're ready, we invite you to sit back and enjoy the demonstration.
Now, as you download and install the latest RhinoCAM 2016 version, and when you start up Rhinoceros 5, it could be running 64-bit or 32-bit. And once you have the RhinoCAM plugin installed and loaded, you will see the option to select the product you'd like to evaluate. And as you select the Run CAM demo, and under the product configuration, you will now see the option to also select Xpress configuration in addition to our existing configurations. Selecting Xpress configuration and then selecting MILL will display the options for Xpress configurations. Now, this Xpress configuration offers both 2- and 3-axis milling and drilling. Now, there's limited set of machining operations under 2-axis and 3-axis milling. Now, once you have the RhinoCAM plugin loaded in Rhinoceros, and if you selected the Xpress configuration in the mill module, you will see the machining browser interface gives you access to 2-axis, 3-axis, and whole machining. Under the 2-axis, you will have access to facing, pocketing, profiling, and engraving toolpath methods. Now, if you need more options in 2-axis, if you need remachining, high-speed pocketing, V-carving, 2-axis roughing, T-slot machining, then you would want to look at upgrading it to the standard, expert, or if you need remachining as well, you can look at pro or premium configurations. Under the 3-axis methods, the Xpress configuration includes horizontal roughing and parallel finishing. If you need more finishing options like finishing in levels, which is called horizontal finishing, or radial and spiral machining, those are available starting with the standard configuration. If you need advanced 3-axis machining, those are available in pro and premium configuration. Now, you can also program holes or drill holes using hole machining and drilling. Drilling, deep drill or peg drilling, brake chip, countersunk, all of these are offered in the Xpress configurations. If you need tap, bore, and reverse bore operation, those are included starting with the standard configuration of the product. So you can refer to the feature list for a detailed information about features offered in each configuration. Now, you might be wondering, what can I do with the Xpress configurations? How, well, what kind of parts I can work with it? So to illustrate this, today I'm going to go ahead and bring in a file into Rhinoceros. So you could pretty much open any files that can be loaded into Rhinoceros. So Rhinoceros offers you a wide range of file translators. I'm not going to go into details into those, but any file that you can bring into Rhinoceros, you could program it with the CAM Xpress product. So you could be working with just 2D drawings. You can program 2-axis toolpaths, or if you have solid surface or even a mesh geometry, you could program both 2- and 3-axis machining operations with those. Now, what I have here is a gearbox model, as you can tell, and you can view this in multiple viewports, and we will now take a look at how we can program this using our Xpress configuration. So first step is under the Program tab. You'll notice that there are 3 different groups. You have the machine setup, stock, and then the machining operations. So we work our way from left to right as you work through these groups. And then you have the Simulate tab, where you can run the simulation or the cut verification for the toolpaths that you programmed. Right under the Program tab, or you might see the Machining Objects browser, which is right next to the Program tab, you have the Tools tab in here, which allows you to create tools, edit tools, save and load tools from your tool library as well. Now, with the Xpress configuration, the following tool types are available: ball and mills, flatten mills, corner radius tools are also known as bullnose cutters, V mills for engraving operations, and you have drilling tool. If you need additional tool types like a taper mill, chamfer mill, face mills, fillet mills, corner rounding tools, those options are available starting with the standard configuration. So the Xpress configuration includes ball mills, flat mills, corner radius, engraving tools, and drilling tools. You can create tools under each tool type. You can define the tool parameters. You can preview the tool, and you can specify your tool number, your height offset register. If you have machines with automatic tool changer, you can also set your coolant type. And it includes a built-in feeds and speeds calculator where you can use the load from file option, and depending on the material you're working with and the tool material, this can help you with recommendations for feeds and speeds.
Hey, Uday, does this come with a tool library, a standard tool library?
Yes, it does. There's a tool library for English tools and metric tools, and by default it's saved in the data folder. So when you click on load tool library or select tools from library, it'll automatically point you to the data folder and can load the tool librry.
So these are the same. These are the same tool libraries that come with the higher configurations, except that you can only see the tool types that are available in Xpress. Is that the way it works?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Now the typical workflow is once you have the part loaded and you have the part oriented in here, orientation meaning when you look at the part looking down from the top view, you want to make sure that the part is in the intended orientation you're going to milling it from. If you change the orientation, you can use the transformation tools that are available to you in Rhino to reorient the part, or you can even use the setup and then the orient part feature in here to change the orientation of the part. So this is how you can change the orientation by choosing a different orientation. Let's say, for example, this part, you may have features that are on the bottom side of the parts. You may want to program some pocket operation, so you'd have to flip the part and then program it. So you will not be able to program multiple different sides or multiple different orientations with the Xpress configuration. Now once you have established the orientation in here, the next step we would want to do is defining the machining process. So for both 2 and 3 axis, the number of axes would be set to 3 axis under machine type in the machine tool setup dialog. The next step is you want to set or select your post processor. So this would be the type of CNC machine tool that you're going to be outputting the program toolpaths to, the G-code to. Now the RhinoCAM Xpress configuration includes all of the post processors that are included in our other configurations. So we currently have posts for over 225 plus different machine controllers. So these covers a wide range of machine tools that are out. So the post processors are listed either by the name of the machine tool or by the controller name. So it's a combination. You can look at it in here and pick the post processor that's appropriate for your machine. Now, if the post processor for your machine is not listed in here, and if your machine can read standard G&M codes, there is a built-in post-process generator, so you can edit to make modifications to an existing post, or you can edit and create your own new post-processor in the Xpress configuration as well.
Yeah, that was another thing I was thinking, Uday. The post-process generator, that's the same generator that's in all of our configurations. I get back to asking what's in the Xpress versus what's in the all of our other configurations, and I just wanted to point out that a lot of the stuff you're seeing it's in all of the configurations that you can get the product in. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
So once you set up your post processor, you can also set your extension for the posted file. So it's set to .nc. You'll notice that the information that you program, the machine and the post, is automatically updated under your machining job. Now the next step is we want to create the stock material. So in the Xpress configuration, you could define your stock as a rectangular stock, so which could be defined as a box stock, where you can enter in your length, width, and the height of the stock material. And as you notice, by default, it'll compute the minimum stock size that's required based on the part that's visible on your screen. So if you have a specific stock dimensions that you want to enter it in, you can specify it under length, width, and the height. Alternatively, you can also define a part box stock where you can specify an offset distance in X, Y, and Z, or one of these coordinate axes. So this is a part box stock. These are the two types of stocks that you can define in the Xpress configuration. If you need additional stock types, for example, if you need to define a cylinder stock, you could avail those features in standard, Expert, Pro, and Premium configurations. If you need to define a stock, a user-defined stock shape like a stock from selection or a stock that's a true offset of the part itself, those are offered in Pro and Premium configurations of the product. Again, you can refer to the feature list for a detailed list of the stock types as well. With the Xpress, you can define box and part box stocks. Once you have your stock defined, the information is updated under machining job. You can click on stock visibility and the stock you've defined appears on the graphics screen. As you switch over to the Simulate tab, the transparencies of the stock display is changed. Those can be set or changed under Preferences in the Simulate tab. And with the Xpress configuration, the voxel simulation model, which is our homegrown simulation model, is included with the Xpress configuration. If you need more options or a better advanced simulation, those are offered starting with the standard configuration of the product. Now once you define the stock, the next step is you want to align the stock to the parts. If you take a look at it from the 4 different views, you can see that the stock needs to be positioned around the part. So we would go to Align and pick Align Stock. Now in here, I'm going to align it so it's centered around X and Y, so we can remove material from all the sides. And then I'm going to have it flush to the bottom, since the bottom face of the part is a flat planar surface. I'm going to then pick OK. You will now notice that the stock is aligned to the center in X and Y and flush to the bottom. Now once you have the setup in here, you can then go ahead and establish the location of your origin or your work zero, or also known as a program zero. This can be done in 2 different ways. One of the ways that's commonly done is you can transform the part and the stock to the world coordinate system origin. This is done using align and set world coordinate system. You can pick a point, like for example, you could pick a center of this hole to be your XYZ0, or you could use set to stock. You can set it to the extent one of the corners of the stock box. You could pick the zero face to be the higher Z, mid Z, or lower Z. You can pick your preferred corner. So typically higher Z southwest is commonly used. You can select this. So this basically will transform the stock and the part to your world coordinate system origin. As you see here, the Z0 is set to the top, and then the XY0 is set to the southwest corner. Now rather than moving the part and the stock to the world coordinate system origin, you do also have an option to establish what is called a work zero, which can allow you to transform the machining coordinate system origin that could be independent of your world origin of the CAD model. So in this particular case, if I pick higher Z and northwest corner, your machining origin would be set, your XYZ0 for machining would be set to the northwest corner. However, the origin for the CAD still remains over here. Now if you prefer to use the same origin for both machining and for the CAD model, then you can eliminate the step of creating the work zero, and you can just have the machining origin be coincident with the world origin. So what this means in simple terms is when you place the stock blank on your CNC machine tool, you're going to be touching off at the top and the southwest corner to establish your 000 before you run the program. Now once you establish this in here, we can then select the material. You can choose the material that you'd like to use from the list, and you can also display a texture by toggling the material texture visibility on in here, and it applies a texture on top of the stock blank. In the next step, we're now ready to program this part in here. Now since there is some additional material being left on the top face of the stock blanks, I want to face it down to the height of the part. So I could use a 2-axis operation to do that. So in order to create a facing operation, I'm going to go ahead and create a boundary around the model that extends to the stock extents. So I'm going to click on the CAD drawing tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle in here. I'm going to snap it to the grid and then just throw in a rectangle on top of the part. Now I'm going to go into the methods under 2-axis. I'm going to use 2-axis and facing. And then for the part region, I'm going to use the rectangle I just created as the area to face. And then I would go into the tool selection in here to pick a tool. So I could be using an end mill or flat mill to program it. Now if you need to be able to use a face mill tool, you would need to upgrade or have the standard, expert, or one of the higher configurations starting with standard. Now you could program this with a flat mill by specifying the diameter of the cutter. You can specify your feeds and speeds. I'm going to use load from tool. Set the clearance plane, so the clearance height I'm going to use automatic. Under the roughing tab, I could set my tolerance, stock allowance, and I can choose the cut pattern. So you have the option to choose between offset or linear cut pattern. And you can specify a cut direction, your start point, your step over in here. In the cut levels, you could also measure the depth by selecting 2 points. You can use the object snaps and you can pick the top of the stock by snapping to the corner of the rectangle, and then I'm going to pick the top edge on the part, and that establishes the height in here, which is slightly over 68 thousandths. And you can specify your parameters for entry and exit, and then pick generate. Now if you need any additional options where you want to perform a corner rounding or perform smooth cut connections, those advanced cut parameter options are available starting with the standard configuration. So with the Xpress configuration, you could create a 2-axis facing operation. And there it is. So there's your facing toolpath. Now once you have it faced to the surface of the part, the next step I would like to do is pocket hole feature. I'm going to go to 2-axis and select pocketing, and now I can select my part region in here. So I'm going to use select curve edge regions, and I can either select a face edge or a surface edge from the model, or I can even use a flat area. In this case, it makes sense to select a face edge. Now typically in some cases or some applications when you're working with harder materials, you may want to use a pre-drilled location for plunging the cutter in when you do a pocket. Now the option to select start point is available in our standard, expert, pro, and premium configuration. Now in the Xpress configuration, you can select the drive geometry and you can control your entry and exit parameter. However, if you want to precisely pick your start point, then you would need to upgrade to one of the other configurations. You can specify a tool for it in here, so I'm going to go with a 1/2 inch end mill, set the feeds and speeds, set the clearance definition, and then you can specify your cutting parameters. You can set your tolerances, your stock allowance, and you can choose between offset or linear cut pattern. Now additional cut patterns like offset spiral, radial, and spiral patterns are offered in standard, expert, and other configurations. You can choose your cut direction, your step over distance in here. You can specify your cut levels, where you can specify the geometry where you select it, if it's at the top of the pocket or the floor of the pocket, and you can measure the depth by selecting 2-point pick, where you can determine the depth between the 2 points. Now, starting with our standard configuration, you can automatically determine the depth from the 3D model, so you don't even have to go and do the additional picks. So if you have the standard configuration, you can do that. So here I'm going to specify my depth per cut to be 100 thousandths, set my entry and exit parameters in here. You could apply this for each level if you'd like to, and then pick generate. And there's your pocket toolpath. You can switch to the Simulate tab and then select Play to run the cut material verification. Now the voxel simulation model does show artifacts along the Z-axis in here. The reason being the resolution is not very fine along the Z-axis, so you're seeing these artifacts. Now in our higher configurations like the standard, expert, pro, and premium, we also have an additional simulation model called the polygonal in addition to voxel, and with that simulation you would no longer see any of these artifacts. So this is just a limitation of the voxel simulation model. And the limitation is you can only machine and program and simulate it from one side. So once you're through with the pocketing, if you want to go back and finish the side wall, since you left some stock, you could program a profile operation in here. And you can select the same face edge. I could choose a cutter for it, set the feeds and speeds, set the clearance definition. Under cut levels, I could set the tolerances, choose the cut direction, and in here I'm going to choose the side to cut. I'm going to pick inside or outside. Now in the higher configurations, you can automatically determine based off the 3D model which side to place the cutter. So here in this particular configuration, you'd have to manually pick whether you're going to be profiling outside or inside, and then you can measure the depth by picking 2 points. If you need automatic depth determination, those options are available starting with the standard configuration. You can set your entry and exit. Now if you need to be able to add bridges and tabs or any additional functionalities, or you want to perform arc fitting, any of those are offered under the Advanced Cut Parameters tab, which is available starting with the standard configuration of the product. And there's your profile toolpath, the finishing toolpath. Let's go and run a verification on it. And there it is. Now we've already finished the pocket on the inside. The next step is we want to go ahead and rough the exterior on the part in here. So we're going to use a 3-axis method to rough it. So we're going to use 3-axis and horizontal roughing. So you can go up to the 3-axis methods and pick roughing. Now this is also known as horizontal roughing or roughing in levels or Z-level roughing or roughing in layers as you call it. So since I would like to rough between these two areas, I'm going to pick these as my containment region, select a tool, specify feeds and speeds, very similar to how we did on the other 2-axis operations, and set the clearance to be automatic. Under the cutting parameters, you can set your tolerances, you can set the stock to leave, and you can choose from the available cut patterns in here. So the system can automatically determine based on core and cavity regions. If you pick facing, it'll identify it and use facing for core areas, and then if you have cavities, you can either pick from offset or linear cuts. Additional cut patterns for cavities are offered in standard Expert Pro. You can pick your cut direction, you can specify your step over in here, and then you can also set your cut levels under the step down control tab. You also have the option to clean up the flats, where you can select them and specify your engage and retract parameters and then pick generate. If you need additional options to perform corner rounding or fit arcs to toolpaths and 3-axis roughing, those options are available starting with the standard configuration. If you need to make any changes in here, you can always double click on it. You can edit each of these operations. You can also modify your cut levels in here. If you want to modify the start top of cut, you can change those and then go back and regenerate it. So there's your roughing in levels. You can view the toolpath as you step through each of those Z levels, and you can notice that the clear flats automatically also cleans up these flat areas in the part. Let's switch to the Simulate tab and then hit the play button to run the verification.
That's nice, Uday. There's a lot of functionality in the Express version.
Absolutely. You get the full 3D machining capabilities in addition to 2-axis facing, pocketing, profiling, and engraving. So you could do a whole lot with the Express configurations. Now, if you need any additional functionalities that you think would be really beneficial for your machining needs, you have the path to upgrade to the higher configurations.
That's the next question I was going to ask. How easy is it for users to upgrade? I mean, does it have to reinstall or what?
Well, the upgrade process is very simple. So once you purchase the upgrade, you would be basically, your license would get updated. So you just have to release the license and activate it again, and you're all set. So you don't need to uninstall and reinstall, or there's no additional installation.
All the capabilities are built into the initial installation, and you just, with a new activation code and license code, those new capabilities become available.
Absolutely. That's correct. And there it is. It's roughed out right there. So the next step we want to do is go ahead and drill those holes in here on these flat areas, so we can do a hole machining and drilling. You can use select holes on a flat area and you can just pick those flat faces on the part right there, or you could even just select those face edges from the hole. And here I'm going to use just the holes in the flat area. Grab a tool for drilling, so I could go with a 1/4 inch drill, set my feeds and speeds, set the clearance. In the cutting parameters, you could choose from the drill types. You can do standard drill, deep drill, countersunk, brake chip. You have all of these options in here. And then you pick the depth in here. You can measure the depth. So pick the top edge, go pick a point. You can pick up at the bottom edge of the part. And since this is being a through hole in here, you can say add tooltip to drill depth, so it automatically compensates for the taper on the tool to make it a through hole, and pick generate. Now,
one thing I noticed there is, sorry to interrupt you, one thing I noticed there is that even though that when you go into the 2-axis, we're in the holes menu, you only have one option to drill. In the drill types, you got all these different drill types. I mean, you can do countersink, brake chip, deep drill, so it's not just a single drilling operation. You can use it for a lot of different.
That is correct. We do the drill cycles. Standard drill G81, G83 for deep drill or pec drilling. We do countersunk, G82. We do all of these drill cycles in here.
Nice.
There it is. So you got it programmed right there. Now, if you like to sort the holes or pick a sequence in which you want to drill them or pocket them, the sorting features are available only starting with the standard configuration, so they're not included in the Xpress configuration.
Yeah, like if you had a plate with all 100 holes in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So currently it'll automatically drill them in the order in which you selected them. If you randomly just drag a window to select them, it'll select them in the order in which they've been created. But if you want to be able to precisely sort them, then you could look at upgrading it to the next higher level configuration. So now once you have this programmed in here, you can go back and run the simulation. And there it is. There's your drill. And then we want to go ahead and finish this sculpted surfaces in here. So we're going to program using a 3-axis method. We're going to use parallel finishing. Now this is also offered in the Xpress Configuration. You can select a tool. So typically for parallel finishing, you would want to use a radius tool like a ball mill or a corner radius tool. Set your feeds and speeds and clearance. In the cutting parameters, you can specify your tolerances, your cut direction. You can also control the angle or the direction of cut, how you're cutting. So if you set it to 0, it'll go in parallel planes along x-axis. You can also ignore holes, so you can ignore these holes from being machined. And you can apply any Z containment if you like to in here, and you can pick a Z containment, or you can specify a Z containment in here and then pick generate. So there's your parallel finishing. So you can see that when when the angle of cut is set to parallel to X, you would end up with these scallops in these areas. On the steeper section, you could go back and repeat the parallel finishing operation and change your angle of cut. From 0, it can go 45 or 90 and cut it in a cross direction to clean it up. And there it is. There's your parallel finishing. And finally, after you're done finishing, if you want to run through the simulation, you can use simulate to end, which basically runs through the simulation for each of these operations in here. And you want to profile cut it to finish it, you can add a 2-axis in the profile operation and have it follow the outer periphery of the part in here. And I'm going to select the chain of edges and grab a tool for it. So we'll use an end mill. Set the feeds and speeds, clearance, and choose what side you want to cut outside. So if you want to do automatic determination, this option is available starting with the standard configuration. You set your cut levels, set your entry and exit, and then generate it. There's your profile cut. You can go run a verification for it. Look at this.
That's nice.
So this Xpress configuration includes a wide range of methods in here for your toolpath.
Could you tell us what are the limitations of the demo module when you download it and run it in demo? What can't you do?
Well, in the demo, you will not be able to save the machining operations to your Rhino file.
Oh, okay.
Or you will not be able to post-process it out to your machine. But you can program and simulate and verify all your toolpaths.
And when they verify the toolbox, they can actually look. There's a viewer in there where they can actually look at the code too without posting it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You can actually expand any one of your machining operations and then double click on this toolpath, and you will get this toolpath viewer where you can actually step through this, and it shows basically your cutter location file. These are your XYZ coordinates, as you can see it right there.
Right.
Now once you purchase a license, it's pretty easy to activate it in here. You just go up to RhinoCAM, click on license, you enter in your activation code, and then you hit register. So this will automatically...
Before we wrap this up, could you give us just a brief review of what's available in the next configuration up? Because users might be looking at purchasing the product, and they may start at looking at the lowest configuration, Express, but then be wondering, well, what else do I get in the standard configuration?
Sure. The standard, in addition to these methods, you also get 2-axis roughing. You get the high-speed pocketing under 2-axis, V-carving, V-carve roughing. You get hole pocketing, hole profiling, thread milling. You also get T-slot machining with under the 2-axis methods with the standard, starting with the standard configuration.
Okay.
Now under 3-axis, you get 5 different types of 3-axis toolpath methods in the standard, and there's more than 15 to 18 methods in the Pro under the 3-axis methods.
Right. And I believe also you get all of the hole operations in the standard too, don't you?
Absolutely. And also you get the options under here to create predefined regions for bridges and tabs. You can do hole feature detection in the standard configuration, and you have the knowledge base feature where you can save and load machining operations from a knowledge base to automate some of your workflow to make it a lot easier. So the knowledge base is not available in Xpress configuration.
Okay. And plus, I think you mentioned in some of those operations there's advanced parameter tabs available in higher configurations that aren't available here. Okay.
So once you have these toolpaths programmed, you can take a look at your information. It gives you information on your machining time estimates. List each of the operations in here. You could also generate a shop documentation, and basically you specify a template and specify a location. You can hit save. That basically creates a setup information sheet, so the operator in the shop floor can be well prepared to be able to, get the load of G-code and run the program. It gives you information about your tool, your feeds and speeds, the stock dimensions, and it includes a screen capture of the toolpaths what you programmed as well.
Nice. And
finally, once you are happy with the toolpaths that you programmed, you can go ahead and do a post process to write this out to your posted output file. And your posted output file automatically appears in your text editor. And you can see that outputs your tool changes, calls up your work offset, which is your G54, and there's your output for your facing. Then you go down to the pocketing operation.
Nice.
It follows right there.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really popular configuration. I like it.
It's packed with a lot of features, and it's easy to use, and you have options to upgrade to higher configurations. So this basically gives you a quick overview of the new Xpress configurations that's being offered in RhinoCAM 2016.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Uday.
Thank you.